Are you ready? Ben Sorensen from Valentine Communications or BCI Media Services. Thank you for being here today and presenting.
Yeah, thank you, Jack. I'm as ready as I'm gonna be, and I want to tell everybody thank you so much for coming today and for taking the time. I'll start off with saying it's just a really cool example of local business owners and stakeholders kind of finding unique ways to rally around. And I know this is different because of COVID and doing it digital and things like that. And while I would much prefer being together in person with everybody and having lunch, we will make the most of this, and I appreciate you guys for putting in the effort with me. That being said, bear with me. This will be my first formal presentation over Zoom, so I'm sure there's going to be some technical difficulties, but we're going to do the best we can. And then also, if you guys have questions throughout the presentation, if you can just do those into the chat box, Rita's going to be monitoring those, and if something is relevant or if I have a break, we'll address those. And then I also, though, have scheduled in time at the end of this presentation for some Q&A. So I want to make sure that we get to questions. Conversational is always the best, and we'll have to just, another one of those things that we'll have to do the best we can since it's all digital and I can't see everybody. So I'm going to start things with this quick video, and then we will dive in. Figure I can't do a video presentation with at least showing one video. So anyway, yeah, again, thanks everybody for being here. My name is Ben Sorensen. I'm the Director of Digital Sales at BCI Media. We're a full service digital marketing agency. One of the things that we specialize in is commercial video production. So I've got a fair bit of experience from that end of things, but I will say that the goal of today's conversation is to talk about everything from full-blown professional produced marketing to things you guys can do with your cell phone and easy stuff that we can implement kind of right away. The idea is that video marketing is content marketing, and it doesn't necessarily take a whole production crew to pull off some of this stuff. In some cases, it's best to have one. Anyway, I'm a Super Bowl commercial enthusiast. I've always been a fan of video marketing and especially Super Bowl commercials. I've been professionally marketing small and medium-sized businesses for the last 7 or 8 years. And then a fun fact about me is I'm a DECA state champion in business marketing when I was in high school. So not quite as cool as winning it with my football team, but I did win it in a business competition. So it's at least something. And then I also wanted to include my email address in here. I would love to connect with anybody after the presentation if we feel like we want to do a deeper dive or talk more specifically about your business. I will say that the last time I gave a presentation on this topic, it was 90 minutes. And so I've worked to condense it down to 45 minutes with some time for Q&A at the end. It's a huge topic, but I think that we'll at least get some good value out of the condensed version today. Oh, no, there we go, cool. So today's conversation, just a quick outline of what I'm hoping to go through in the next few minutes. The first one is why video is necessary to your marketing strategy. And then also we want to talk about consumer behavior, how it's evolved, and then specifically how people consume video. I'll add just kind of anecdotally to that we've seen a huge shift with consumer behavior since March of 2020, as I'm sure you guys are aware. And video has become more important than ever, where consumers are looking for safety and efficiency when it comes to getting information from local businesses. And then we're going to talk about different types of video. I've got it broken into two main categories: organic versus produced video content. Another way to think of that would be basically professional or spontaneous, things that you're doing with your cell phone versus a video production crew, things like that. We're also going to talk about some types of video that you can start making today. And I think that hopefully you guys will be surprised at how easy it is to come up with marketing concepts and video topics to start doing right away. And then what to do with our videos once they're made. So, we go through this whole thing, we build these videos, and then what? And some cool ways where we can distribute them and find audiences for the videos that we've made. And then lastly, some time for some Q&As. And then I wanted to start with this quote. I'm sure you guys have seen it before, but people will forget what you said, people will forget what you did, but people will never forget how you made them feel. And I just thought that that's kind of a great way to start a conversation about video and really marketing in general. But what I like about it is that video gives us an opportunity to have our audience feel things. It's a powerful chance for us to tell a huge, meaningful story in a very efficient and quick way. And we know that we're winning if our videos produce some sort of emotion. Sometimes that's somebody having an urge to buy from you, or they trust you, or they've learned something about your business, things like that. But a great opportunity to leave somebody, to be memorable, since we can make people feel things. And then if you're taking notes, I would say to write down 3 main points from today's conversation. And then I would think that it's a success. And that is, when you're thinking about video marketing, number 1 rule of thumb is to simply show up and provide value. And then the other 2 main takeaways would be, any of your organic video initiatives, we want to make sure that they stay authentic. And any of your produced video initiatives, we want to make sure that they stay strategic. And I'm going to dive in pretty deep to both of those here later on in the presentation, but that's kind of the main takeaways from today's conversation. So why video? And I think it's important to start talking about why video is important. Let's see, sorry, my video screen is on the top here. So video usage has increased 63% in the last year. 72% of consumers prefer to learn about a service or a product through video. 78% of people watch videos online every week, and 55% of them watch every day. I think that's low. My guess would be that significantly more people are watching videos daily, especially, again, like we had talked about, with consumer behavior evolving in the days of COVID. 81% of businesses are using video in their marketing strategy, and I'll add to that the other 19% should be. There's not a single business out there that can't benefit from video marketing. 85% of adults use multiple devices at the same time. How often are we sitting in front of the TV and we also have our phone in front of us? Or we're sitting at work in front of our laptop and we're on our phones. And then this is a huge one to take away, and I would also, star this and underline this, is that viewers retain 95% of a message when they watch it through video. And then lastly, another kind of cool stat is that video consumption through mobile devices has risen at 100% every year. So it's doubling every year, the amount of video being consumed through our phones. And then, so the other thing to talk about, and important to kind of have in the back of your mind when you're considering your video marketing strategy, is how do people consume video? And specifically, how are we engaging with the video depending on the platform at which it's being published? And I'm going to dive deep into several of these, but kind of a quick overview. Facebook is typically, people are looking for quick updates. They're oftentimes on the go. Most of the time they're on their mobile device. You'll find that it's pretty rapidly scrolling. People are very passively on Facebook. In fact, it's interesting, if you were to ask somebody who's sitting there scrolling what the last few posts are they just saw, they probably couldn't even tell you. It tends to be kind of mindless. An important takeaway though for Facebook video is that typically people watch videos on Facebook without audio. So if you're going to publish stuff to Facebook, you want to make sure it has closed captions or graphics. or that it can tell a story without audio. Instagram, on the other hand, people tend to be more engaged with it, tend to slow down when they're going through Instagram. It's kind of evolved into this platform with inspiring type content, sort of, I don't know, grand things of how that one's set up. Interestingly enough, though, people watch videos on Instagram with audio. And then I'm also going to dive in later about how Instagram videos help to actually convert to purchases. There's also Instagram stories, which that's another thing to remember too, is that I would say in terms of your video strategy, Instagram is the one platform where you can have a green light to do a vertical video. So you can, if you're going to film with your phone straight up, everything else you want it to be sideways, but Instagram, you can get away with a vertical one. YouTube, people are more engaged. They're always watching with audio on. People are typically actively searching for information. It's a great place to have like how-tos, more permanent type content there that's going to live there and be available for a more captive audience. Video on your websites is a really powerful tool because if somebody's on your website, they're typically at least on some level in the buying process. You've got somebody who's engaged, they're in depth, they're usually pretty interested in learning. So these are great places for like a meet the team, how-to videos, explaining your product a little bit more. Maybe it's a real estate walkthrough or something like that, but it's usually somebody who's now a level deeper into that buying cycle and very engaged into your business at that point. And then television, people are used to seeing ads, which is good and bad. You're not going to surprise them that they see a commercial while they're watching TV. It's also, though, more difficult to stand out and to make your commercial catch their attention. We're more limited in the timing, so they're typically 15 or 30 seconds, and your audience is usually sitting. I used to say that it's a captive audience. We found, and like I said earlier, that now people have multiple devices in front of them, and so catching their attention is even more important. Some cool stats about Facebook video. So there's over 2.7 billion monthly active users on Facebook, and it's by far the largest social network. Users view on average 8 billion videos a day. And then a fun fact, an important one for you guys to think about too, is that if you're trying to drive engagement in your social media marketing strategy, which, quick anecdote, the more engagement you have on your posts in general, the bigger your audience will be that sees those posts. So we really want to be pushing out information that people see as valuable, and whether they're liking it, commenting on it, or sharing it, the Facebook algorithm is that the more engagement you get, the more often it's going to push your content to your audience. And videos get the highest engagement with 13.9%. Every day, 75 million users visit Facebook, and 81% of businesses prefer using this platform. It's easy and an awesome way to get in front of a great audience. Instagram, I will say, so until recently, Instagram was the only growing social media platform, or the fastest growing, I should say. TikTok is now there, and a whole nother discussion to have when it comes to video that we'll save for a second presentation. But active monthly users are around 800 million. 65% of impressions from an ad on Instagram come from video. 72% of users who buy a product, 72% of users buy a product after they've seen a video ad. And then 75% of users take action after viewing a brand's video. And this is what I was talking about earlier. We're finding that Instagram, if you're looking for really high converting, like true lead generation type content, Instagram's a great place to do it, because we're finding that people click through to websites quite often and actually, enter that funnel a little bit more. YouTube is super important. More than half of all YouTube views come from mobile devices. And I think that's something we'll find throughout today's discussion, is that regardless of the platform, we're finding that most video consumption is happening on mobile, and you need to have that in mind regardless of where you're publishing it. Average views from mobile devices last more than 40 minutes. YouTube is the second largest search engine, second only to Google. And a fun fact, which I'm sure you guys are aware of, but Google owns YouTube. So I'll add in there that if one of your business initiatives is to rank better organically, or if you're working on SEO, believe it or not, video marketing is a very powerful way to spur your SEO efforts. By having a video that you've made that lives on a YouTube channel that your company owns, and then embedding that into your website or blogs or things like that, it's going to add instant credibility through Google search algorithms and increase the likelihood of you ranking high for search terms. But even if not, people are searching YouTube for content as well. Every minute, there's over 300 hours of video uploaded to YouTube. Let that sink in. 300 hours of video are uploaded to YouTube every minute. And 1.5 billion users play 1 billion hours of video per day. Those are numbers that I can't even wrap my head around, but they're going to be important for later on in the discussion when I've got a whole slide dedicated to encouraging you guys to just take a leap of faith and start with video. And this is why there's really no risk. There's a ton of noise out there. And if something were, if it wasn't perfect, you're not going to have a huge audience that laughs at you. But anyway, we'll dive into that later. So again, to reiterate, the organic versus produced video, again, either way, show up and provide value. Organic videos need to stay authentic, and produced videos need to stay strategic. So what is the difference between, and this is just video marketing according to Ben. I don't know if this exists in any textbook, but I couldn't think of a better word for that. The fact that we all have video cameras in our pockets, and we have all these great resources to make video. So I'm calling it organic. But the idea is that it's authentic. So show your personality, show the behind the scenes stuff, be a little bit vulnerable. Don't be afraid to show people a day in the life of your business. This is where, nowadays, and I think that, again, coming back to this idea of consumer behavior evolving since 2020, is that business and consumers are what I would call more compassionate. And there's more of a personal touch now, and people want to trust you, and people want to feel like they know you. It's so hard to set ourselves apart and be different from our competition. So one of the best ways to do that is just let people in, let people get to know who you are and tell a little bit more of your story. It's anything that can be filmed from your phone. I would say Instagram stories are at the top of the list of organic video content that you can be producing. Like we talked about, new product walkthroughs. Maybe you're a real estate agent and you're doing a virtual open house, or you get a new shipment of product in and you want to show people the new logo on the t-shirts, or you have a new employee and you want to introduce everybody to them, things like that. The idea is that it's spontaneous, it's real, it's genuine, and again, the biggest takeaway for this one is that it's authentic. And then a huge thing I'd like to say on this is that when it comes to organic video marketing, frequency and timeliness are significantly more important than quality. And I don't mean that you should be putting out, for lack of a better term, crappy content or things that are low in quality. But I do mean that I'd rather you get it out there and I'd rather you push it live than focusing on editing it, or the one mistake someone made, or they stumbled over their own words. A quick story is I'm a volunteer firefighter, and on September 11th, we were doing this memorial stair climb, and there was quite a bit of media there, and people were taking photos, and there was photographers and videographers all over the place, and people were flying drones. And anyway, it was just, there was a lot of kind of people capturing that. And one of my friends was there, and he was there coincidentally. He's a local professional photographer and videographer, but he was just exercising on the stairs. And he grabbed his phone out and just started kind of filming and walking with us while we were doing this memorial stair climb. And then he hurried and put it together through, I don't know what he uses, but probably something like iMovie or something, a pretty on the TV news in Albuquerque. Anyway, the exposure just went biographer. The amount of brand awareness he generated from that was insanely high. And meanwhile, all the other people that were there, you know, probably went back, uploaded them, edited the photos with lighting, and, you know, 2-3 days later, finally get the content published, and it's way too late now. So that's what I'm trying to say with it. Frequency and timeliness are more important than quality. Is that as long as you're not putting out junk, I would always err on the caution of going live and publishing it. You'll never regret being the first to kind of control your narrative and to have content out there. So when in doubt, put it out. I just thought of that right now. So there's the tagline for today. The other side of it, though, from video marketing is your produced video. And this is what I'd say is anything that, you know, requires a plan or strategy, and it doesn't necessarily need to be TV commercials. But, you know, like, let's say you want to do a recruitment video to get new employees, or your business gets a new location and you want to do a real professional, you know, new walkthrough or something like that. Anything that, you know, you have foresight on and can plan, you want to make sure it's strategic. And what I mean by that is think about why you're doing what you're doing, who your audience is going to be, and how you're going to tell the story that you want to tell. These typically include things like lighting, you know, professional audio, script writing, voiceovers, music, things like that. And in this case, quality is more important than timeliness. A good example of this would be we've been hired by Visit Alamosa to go out and do some fall color tourism video shoots that we're going to be doing here in the next couple of weeks. And the point of that is to get these videos published for next summer to start promoting fall travel, you know, 14 months from now. But the point is that there's strategy behind it. There's a reason for it, and we know why. And so then we can really get thorough and think through how we're going to put this content together so that when it comes time to actually push it out there, we know why. And so we want to make sure that the quality is there and that the strategy is there. So when you're deciding if it should be organic or produced, I would ask yourself a few different questions. You know, one is who is your target audience? Another one is, what is the goal? Where should the video live? What is your budget? And when should the video be published? So that's another one where, you know, just kind of think through the differences between those. If you need something done today, you probably should pull out your phone and find a way to make it happen. You know, if you're promoting a grand opening of your new car dealership, it's probably worth, you know, going more the produced route and some more professional kind of strategic approach to it. But just kind of ask yourself those questions, and I think it'll help you determine which route to go. And then I have a quote here. So this is a quote from Chris, the dad Sorensen. My dad told me in his infinite wisdom when I was in middle school. I'm sure I was having a middle school day crisis or something, but he told me that you will care a lot less about what people think of you when you realize how little they do. And what he means by that is that people have their own stuff to worry about. They have their own insecurities to deal with, and they're not going to hyperanalyze you, I promise. And if you realize that, you'll all of a sudden be so much more confident in going out there and getting in front of the camera or talking. You know, I know that even as adults it's uncomfortable to hear our own voices sometimes and things like that. So I had some tips for everybody, and I mean these sincerely. Your hair looks fine. The lighting is perfect. Your shirt looks great, and you have nothing to lose. So going back to my spontaneous kind of tagline for the day, when in doubt, put it out. Show up, add value, and don't worry about failing or what people might think of you. Like we had talked about earlier, billions of hours of video are consumed every day. And I don't think people are going to worry about the stain that's on your shirt or the dog that barks in the background once. So I was brainstorming and just kind of thinking of some ways, some video topics that might be kind of easy for people to make. And what I would say is just think of your video marketing as an extension of your content marketing strategy. So, you know, how important it is to be blogging or posting to social media video falls right in that line. So, you know, if it's thought leadership, like for example, you know, a great video content for me and my company would be to record this presentation and then publish it out there as as some thought leadership. A blog teaser, if you guys have been working on a new blog post and you make a quick video with maybe graphic animation, or, you know, it doesn't even need to be anything crazy. You could do a slideshow with still photos, things like that. Company overview, you know, introducing people to products or services that you offer. Branding videos are always great. How-to videos are really cool. And I had some examples of some of these, but that's part of what I trimmed out by making the presentation slower. So if you want examples of these, you know, let me know and I can get them over to you. Interviews, you know, Q&As. So I'm sure you guys know the questions that you're asked frequently in your business day to day, and I'd encourage you to answer those in the form of a video, and literally answer one question in one video and then publish it out there. And you'll be amazed that all of a sudden, you know, you got a dozen Q&A videos and all this great video content in your back pocket to start doing marketing. Announcements, you know, maybe somebody gets a promotion or your organization is changing, you're offering a new product, you have a new service area, whatever it might be, a great way to do that is through video. And then, you know, just quickly, editorials, testimonial type videos, event recaps, explainer videos, and then backstories. You know, that's kind of what I was saying with show people behind the scenes and don't be afraid to kind of let people in on the, my guess would be that your audience is would be received well to show them kind of the back end day to day. Maybe it's how your product's made or something funny that happens, you know, some of that nuanced stuff that is specific just to your industry. You know, that's where that authentic approach can come in, and you can kind of show people behind the scenes with those backstories. Do we have questions, Rita, in the chat box?
No questions yet, Ben.
Awesome. And then I would think about when you're thinking about your video strategy, 3 main goals or intentions is the way I have it kind of in my mind. And I think that every one of those videos we've talked about would fall into one of these buckets. But the idea is that you're either trying to create interest they likely go in order too. So first thing we want to do is create interest, introduce people to our brand, introduce people to our organization, get people familiar with us. The second thing we want to do is convert that interest. So, you know, it takes a lot of effort to get somebody to trust us and to, you know, create the interest with our organization. And then it's time to kind of ask for that buy and you know, ask for them to do business with us. And then the third step is that we maintain their interest and loyalty. And this is where, again, kind of that main point that I've told everybody to write down is show up and add value. So, you know, maybe I'm trying to think of some examples on the fly, but, you know, maybe you're a retail store and there's kind of some like common tips to better maintain the products that people purchase from you, like how to keep them cleaned or, you know, ways to improve that product, cool ways where you can just continue to add value. You know, or let's say you're a real estate agent and you know, maybe there's some videos on how to stage your house or some quick tips to do before listing or ways to why it's important to be pre-qualified. The idea is that we've worked really, really hard to build this audience and we got to stay engaged with them. We want to keep talking to them, show up and add value. So I think that now we've kind of established that video is very important. You know, consumers are getting to the point where they really rely on businesses and are counting on businesses to put out video content. We've sort of talked about how people consume video differently. We've talked about the different types of videos we could make and how we should make them, whether it's organic or produced type video. So, and then I also talked you into showing up and adding value and putting your insecurities aside. And now you've got all these videos made. Well, now what? Now we've got to find out how to get them in front of the right audience and where where to publish them. So the first one, and I think the simplest one for everybody, is just simply organic social posting. Like we had talked about earlier, consider your platform. I'll say that if you're gonna publish to Facebook, that you make sure you add closed captions. Facebook has a great option that'll do it for you automatically. You know, again, don't worry if there's typos or it pulls in something you said a little bit incorrectly. Having closed captions is way better than not having them. The other thing that's great about social media is that there's no time restrictions. You can publish as long or as short as a video as you want. I will say though that shorter videos perform better. It's important to get as much of a message into a concise time frame as possible. Just as an FYI, if your videos are over 1 minute, they'll go to the new thing, which is IGTV. It doesn't really do anything other than when people hit a certain point of their video, they'll have to click to continue watching it, and it'll pull up the Instagram TV feed. And then the last two things kind of go hand in hand, where I have said to, if possible, avoid sharing links and to upload your videos directly to Facebook. What I'll say here is that we're not YouTubers. We're not trying to be, you know, viral YouTube people making money on our views on YouTube. We're marketers and we're trying to grow our businesses. And so don't worry about some of that stuff of that you need to only publish your video one place and drive all the traffic to that one place and make sure you get as many views as possible. Upload your videos directly to Facebook. They will perform exponentially better. We also all know that Facebook is very savvy at having us stay on Facebook. They're very reluctant to have us leave that platform. So if it's an external link, even if it is just a link to your YouTube video, you'll find that your engagement on your video is significantly lower than if you just published it directly to Facebook. And publish it wherever you want and multiple places. Just best practices are to have it uploaded directly to where you're going to be doing that distribution. The other thing with social media that's cool to consider is social advertising. It's great because it's very cost effective. It's available cross-platform, you know, so you can run one ad and have it go to Facebook and Instagram. And then it also can be used for every type of initiative and everything you're trying to accomplish, whether that's just simply branding, people getting familiar with you, or conversions. You know, if you're trying to really actually sell your product through that platform, or lead generation, whatever it might be. What's really cool about it is as you're building out these Facebook and Instagram ad sets, it'll also let you pick the call to action at the bottom of it. So you can have people click for driving directions, they can click through to your website, they can click and send you a message through the platforms, which is awesome for lead generation. And then split, test, and revise. And what I mean by that is that let's say you've got, I don't know, a minute-long video and you go over many things about your business. Feel free to cut that to 10 or 15 seconds, you know, one little value statement that you've made, and publish that, and then do another chunk of it. A lot of video marketing is repurposing what you've already made and just finding ways to not reinvent the wheel, and seeing what people engage with and go about it that way. I will say to target your audience wisely. Similar to how I was saying that Facebook is designed to keep us on the platform, they're also designed to make money. So it's pretty easy to run away with your budget. And so if you're unfamiliar with social media advertising, send me an email. I'll give you just some free tips and some easy ways to kind of set parameters on how you're doing that targeting and setting your budgets and stuff like that. So that you don't all of a sudden at the end of the month get hit with a massive bill from Facebook, because they make it very easy to say, you know, add a little bit more here, add a little bit more there. And we've seen time and time again, people kind of run away with their budgets. YouTube, we talked about this earlier, but publish here. I don't mean to say if you're going to use social media to not publish to YouTube. I just mean to publish to both platforms at the same time. Like we talked about, it's the second largest search engine. And then what's cool about having your video live on YouTube is that YouTube gives you these embed codes. And so you can then repurpose that for your website, for blogs. You can even embed them in your email marketing campaigns. Lots of really cool ways to have YouTube videos incorporated into your marketing strategy. In fact, if you were to ask me if you should upload a video directly to your website or embed a YouTube link, I would always say to embed a YouTube link because it helps with SEO. It'll also help your website stay fast. Page load speed is super important when Google's determining search engine algorithms. Anyway, it's just a great resource because you can copy and paste those links super easy. And then another cool option is YouTube pre-roll advertising. And it's really great because it's pay per view. And what I mean by that is that YouTube will only charge you after a completed view of 30 seconds or longer. So I'm sure you guys have been on YouTube and you see where there's that skip ad button. You can have as many impressions as you want. If people skip the ad, you'll never get a bill. And so we've found some ways here at my company to really kind of capitalize on making sure that we have branding at the beginning and that we catch people's attention so that inevitably when we do have to pay, we know that they've seen the whole commercial and the whole ad that we've wanted them to see. What's also really cool about YouTube pre-roll advertising is the way that you can target it. So you can target your ads on different types of content. So like let's say you're an appliance store, you could serve ads to people before they watch a YouTube video on how to fix their broken appliance. Or you're a car dealership and people are looking for watching all the videos about people reviewing the truck challenges or whatever it might be. It's really cool because we know that people are in the market for the things that you offer based on the type of content they're consuming on YouTube. And the fact that we can serve them an ad beforehand is really kind of a powerful opportunity. Another thing to do once you've got these videos made is what's called programmatic pre-roll. And what this does is it lets you reach a targeted audience through, well, literally programmatic pre-roll ads, which that'd be like if you guys have ever seen on a news website or as you're going through your day-to-day online behaviors, you'll see an ad kind of pop up at the top of a screen. Sometimes they're in emails or different places throughout the internet. What's cool about programmatic pre-roll though is that we focus on to whom the ad is served, not where. So we can get incredibly granular with the type of targeting. We can even do what's called search retargeting. And that'd be where, like, let's say, coming back to my example of real estate, that somebody's looking for homes for sale near me or mortgage rates or, real estate offices or whatever. And they're doing all these things to show that they're in the market for real estate. We then can serve them programmatic pre-roll video ads wherever they are. It may be completely irrelevant to the topic of your ad, but that person we know is in the market for your services or your product. And so it's just a really cool opportunity to catch people in kind of a unique place and put yourself in front of them. I will say though that from programmatic pre-roll to not expect conversions. It's pretty difficult to get somebody from reading a blog to purchasing a product through your website, but it will help when we ask for the conversion later. The fact that they saw your ad, on whatever site they were on will help with that credibility piece. And then another great place is to distribute your videos through television. Like we had talked about earlier, there's strict time limits on these, 15 seconds and 30 seconds. But what I like about TV advertising is that it's instant credibility. You'd be amazed at how affordable it is. And regardless of the size of your business, if somebody sees your ad on their TV, it makes you look really, really good. And so I would think that, it's a worthwhile endeavor. Like I said, it's kind of that premium audience and a nice way to kind of elevate yourself and build your own credibility. They'll also be more inclined to trust you because for some reason when we're on TV, people think we know what we're doing, or when we're giving a Zoom presentation about video marketing. And then these are some KPIs that I've listed that I think are important. So the biggest thing in any marketing that you're doing, whether it's video or other initiatives, is to get your data and make sure that you're keeping track of your efforts and what's working and what's not. I think the biggest disservice we can do for our businesses, and whether we're business owners or marketers or whatever it might be, is to not know how our efforts are performing. So these are just some sort of brainstorm ideas I had for how to track your key performance indicators when it comes to your video marketing. And how often are people viewing it? How many times did people click on it? What was the conversion rate? Are people clicking through to your website after it? Are you seeing messages come through? One of the best things that I've thought of is, and my wife is a small business owner here, and sometimes people will say, I recognize your name. And to me, that's a great brand awareness lift, that it means that they've seen some exposure to that brand, if there's some familiarity out there. And some of this is kind of, anecdotal evidence. Others of it, though, is very defined, easy, trackable analytics that you can get depending on the platform and how they're performing. But I will say that don't put in a ton of effort and then not track it. Find out what's working and then do more of that. Find out what's not working and do less of that. But like I said, biggest takeaways is start, show up and add value. And then if you're going to do organic video marketing, make sure you keep it authentic. And if you're going to do produced video marketing, make sure that it's strategic and that you have a reason for it. And with that, I almost nailed it, Rita. I was almost right at 45 minutes. I think I'm at 47 minutes, but we've got time for Q&As if anybody has any.
Let's see, I'm looking through a couple here. One that I had, do you have a good, video app that you recommend?
So yeah, I mean, I like iMovie on your phone. It makes it super easy. You can do like photo slideshows through that, or you can clip together video clips. It's super intuitive. It's the one I think is the easiest, but I'm sure there's tons of them out there.
Okay. Somebody did make a note. Animoto is a really good media video app. Ashley commented also with TV, don't forget about streaming platforms like Roku, Fire Stick, Apple TV, etc. are insertable here in the four corners to reach people.
And then there was a question for when you get charged for a YouTube ad.
Yes.
So the way that works is YouTube charges per view, much like Google's. I don't know if you guys are familiar with Google pay-per-click advertising or not. Like I said, YouTube's owned by Google, and so they pay per view, and so you have to get past a certain distance in the video for them to consider it a view. If you are running YouTube advertising, they'll measure impressions and then they'll measure views. So you'll know how many times people started seeing your ad and then clicked skip ad, versus a view though, which is a more complete view, and it's past that time frame. It's usually 15 or 30 seconds. It depends, on where you're running it and how long your video is. But it's essentially a complete view. Somebody watched your entire ad is them when they charge you for it.
That was a question. Ashley Dixon asked, what does Facebook count as a view? So it just depends on the time, how long the video is and how long someone stays on.
Yeah, and then Facebook, be a little careful with Facebook's data that they'll give you. They'll report on impressions, which don't let that mistake you with a view. Impressions would be how many times your video was scrolled past, and like we had talked about earlier, it's usually a pretty mindless scrolling. So while impressions are cool, what's really important is views. And Ashley's question of what does Facebook count as a view? To be honest with you, I don't know the parameters behind that. I know that they have to click play, that the video has to start playing. How long in when it counts as a view, I don't know. Knowing Facebook, it's the second you press play. I
have a quick question too. How important is it to have like an external mic. You know, like have a lavalier mic that plugs into your phone.
Yeah, so that's again where I would think about your goals, you know, and the point of the video. If you're talking through a how-to, it's probably very important to have a mic. But if you're showing someone kind of a behind the scenes and how your warehouse is working, and there's a lot going on, it maybe isn't as big of a deal. So no clean answer on that one, but keep in mind your audience, where the video is going to live, and whether it's, you know, produced or organic, and then go from there.
I was asking the guys like us, is it important to get the shine on our heads? You know?
Yeah, well, that's why I could so confidently say that your hair looks great.
Any other questions? Somebody asked what type of mic.
So microphones have gotten awesome. You'll find that a lot of people will just use even like Bluetooth AirPods that pick up audio that way. Or I like the corded version, and mine has just a microphone right here that I'm talking through, and you can, you know, plug those into your phone as well. There's also, though, very expensive, more, you know, produced type microphones, the boom mics and things like that.
Do you know of a good resource for royalty-free sound clips, songs, and et cetera to add to videos?
I only am familiar with the paid versions. I'm probably not the best guy to ask for where to get I'm sure there's tons of it out there. We use a site called artlist.io. And if anybody's interested, there's a ton of great music on there, but it's all pay. We purchase it from there, but it's good stuff.
Okay. Another question. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, go ahead, Jack.
Another question, what is the most cost-effective video type to bring people back to your website or product?
Yeah, so it would depend on the product and the industry, but in terms of cost effectiveness, the answer to that right away is going to be something that's what I've termed organic. You know, something that's from your phone. And I'll default to my earlier statement of that we show up and that we add value. So it might be something where, you know, maybe you have found that you have a high shopping cart abandonment rate, or that people think your product's too expensive, or maybe they don't understand it entirely. I would find out a little bit more about your audience and your consumer and why they haven't fully converted yet. And then I would address it. I would try to find real, authentic, genuine ways. My guess would be that you really believe in your product, and that there's some awesome messaging out there to show it. Maybe it's as simple as that, you know, you've only done photography, and you need to show it in action. Or maybe people talking about it through testimonials is going to drive the point home. You know, anything you can think of that's a little bit unique and a new way to tell people about your product, I think is worth trying. And I would just say, again, back to that idea that we show up and add value, and do it authentically. And my guess would be you'd find success.
I think I captured all of the questions. Zipping through them one more time.
What I'll do is I'm going to type my email into the chat box. And I genuinely would like to, you know, if somebody wants to dive in deeper, very sincerely, you know, send me an email, because I love this stuff and I could talk about it for hours, and love helping businesses grow and, you know, learning about new things. So don't hesitate to send me a note. And then I'll say too that thanks for putting up with me through my first ever Zoom presentation. You know, I just appreciate the fact that everybody shows up and finds cool way. It's just fun to be a part of, you know, groups like this, or where people are making the most of evolving times. And so I appreciate the opportunity.
One question just before you go, can we upload video to Facebook and Instagram at the same time?
Yep. And I found the most intuitive way to do that is start with start with Instagram. You know, use your Instagram app. And as long as your pages are set up properly where they're linked. And that's another one that if you need some tips on, I'd be happy to help with that, that they're set up as proper business pages and they're connected. When you're publishing a video to Instagram, there's literally a button that says share to Facebook too. Click yes, it'll carry over your caption. I will say one thing to know, whether you're sharing video or photo content from Instagram to Facebook, is that you may need to go in and edit the captions on Facebook. So sometimes tags don't fully translate, or you'll need to change, how it's pulling in that stuff. But the content that you're sharing, the video or the photo, should be pretty fluid that way. So I'd start with Instagram, and then it'll automatically go over to Facebook.
And a real quick plug too, the Chamber has 2 leads groups, and actually Ben is the leader of the morning leads group. So again, thank you for doing that, Ben, and thank you for today's presentation. If you guys have questions, follow up. You've got Ben's email, and yeah, that's going to wrap up today's Lunch and Learn. Check out everything else Chamber's doing at durangobusiness.org. So have a great day, everybody. Thank you.
Thanks, you guys.